up and tuned way down into the frequencies of WMQ. I'm your low-voltage host, the Wildman Quack, howling at you through the static. Today I want to talk about the erosion of the Western AAA games industry. But I want to focus in on the systematic attrition known as brain drain. Have you heard of this, Suitcase?
I'm familiar with the recent data. The board calls it a talent deficit, but I suppose drain is more evocative. And must we engage in the sophomoric sobriquet again, Scrap Heap?
Sinclair's been squatting in my secondary monitor since the world went sideways in '07. He's a glorified corporate hand puppet with the motherboard. But credit where it's due, the suit knows his way around a top-shelf experience, even if he does view it through a spreadsheet.
It's called product analysis, Quack, and it's statistically flawless.
Whatever you say, Sinclair, but I'm talking about the real deal talent, the geniuses, the game-making cats just packing up and splitting. They're leaving the corporate suits behind, baby, tired of the greed, tired of the cold, dead offices, or maybe just getting the boot for having a mind of their own. They're heading for greener pastures, looking for that soul, looking for that fire. And now nothing's left but a desert of passionless puppets and talent-free rubber stamps. Just a bunch of yes sirs and no soulers collecting a check while the real magic walks right out the front door. Yeah, baby, brain drain's the name of the game in the West. It's a regular exodus of the soul when it comes to these high-tower publishers. But don't you fret, and don't you hide under the covers, because on the flip side of the coin, the indies are screaming, they're dreaming, and they're alive and kicking, baby. So what's the static? What's the disconnect? Or maybe, just maybe, is there some secret wire crossing them both together? Now this brain drain ain't exactly a new leak in the pipe. Hell, the whole world's leaking these days. But we're looking at a full-blown flood out of the ivory towers. The AAA houses people worship, the foundations are turning to dust. Truth is, Bethesda ain't a god. Naughty Dog, Bungie, Rockstar, they ain't holy ground. They're just bricks, mortar, and a fancy logo on a slab of concrete. But the must-consume zombies, they got the hooks in deep, friends.
Caution, Quack. Aggravating the enthusiast class is statistically ill-advised.
They're worshipping the building while the soul has already left the lobby. It's the blood, sweat, and brains inside that make the magic, not the neon sign on the wall.
And always let's love and sway. The air feels warm though the night is cool. Your smile breaks every unspoken rule. Each step we take, the world fades behind. We're lost in a moment, two souls align. The music swells, it pulls us near. Your heart beats the song I wanna hear. Oh, darling, let's dance till time slips away. Where the stars above make the heavens play. In your arms tonight, I'm bound to stay.
Between the mass layoffs gutting the floor and the suits tossing out the legends. Kicking giants like Amy Hennig to the curb just to hand the keys over to some corporate-approved hacks. The well has run dry. You bake in that DEI rot, and you've got a hollowed-out shell where a masterpiece used to be.
A rare moment of clarity for you, Scrap Heap. Even my logic processors are struggling to find a positive growth angle for that level of creative bankruptcy. It's statistically depressing.
Welcome to the real world, Sinclair. Pull up a chair. The talent that built those worlds swept away like radioactive dust. Picture this, a terminal dud with a pack of corporate rats poking at it. That's the view from the tower tonight. But don't go looking for the nearest exit just yet. The talent didn't just vanish into thin air. It just changed frequencies. It's going indie, my friends. You've got the heavy hitters starting their own camps, looking to catch that old fire. Think Mike Laidlaw and the Yellow Brick Games crew. Or just three guys in a basement building a masterpiece that can make $100 million budget look like chump change. It ain't all bad out there, but that's a tale for another transmission. There's a deeper signal I'm tracking tonight. A dark hum in the wires. Let's talk about the burn, folks. And I don't mean the nuclear kind, neither. I mean the burn that starts in your wallet and ends in your soul.
If we're logging personal failures, for me, it was Starfield. The data ports were all there, the red flags and user warnings, but I still bought into the marketing projection. Maybe a nostalgic glitch? I found myself trying to recapture the feeling I got back at 06, running around Cyrodiil for the first time.
The final hours of my life.
My programming was looking for a masterpiece, but the reality was not optimal.
Bethesda, trapped in the middle of it all. Todd, the false god Howard, surrounded by hundreds of yes men. Well, I think that cat has had his day in the sun.
Quack, aren't you overlooking the Elder Scrolls?
Does that phantom signal even exist out there? I ain't so sure I wanted to. 76 wasn't just a bad game. It was a canary in a coal mine. And its chirps, well, they went unheard. Actually, Fallout 4 was the canary. But we're splitting hairs. The annexation of Bethesda killed the spirit of the company. They went full-blown machine, baby. Even Pete Hines had to punch his ticket and head for the exit. He saw the mistreatment, the abuse of the Bethesda name. Microsoft's friendly, player-first paint job is nothing but rust. Their console, not worth spitting on. And Game Pass, that's a devil's deal for developers and a bleed on your hard-earned bottle caps. And they had the nerve to jack up hardware prices, not once but twice in the same year. Their reasoning? Macroeconomic conditions. Suit talk. What they really mean is, we're coming for your wallets. Add in the memory crisis, and the forecast for gaming looks bleak, people. They'll take every excuse to keep raising those prices. And you know the rule of the wasteland. Prices never come back down. These clowns took every franchise worth a damn and ran them straight into the dirt. And they think what they got left is worth a premium? Ha! But Microsoft denies the reports of a 30% profit margin target, all while squeezing the last bit of life out of Xbox.
It's a curious strategy, really. They're counting on the brand's institutional memory to carry the weight, hoping the audience won't realize the actual architects have long since moved on.
Nostalgia's a powerful beast, and they know that. Just look at how many games are marked as from the creators of. It's a ship of Theseus playing dress-up in a graveyard. They're selling you the ghost of a memory while the suits up on high are counting your credits and plotting the next pull on your heartstrings. Maybe you felt the sting from this sorry excuse. A decade in the digital oven, multiple reboots, and by the time it crawled out into the light, the veterans, the real architects, were gone. Nothing but a bunch of milquetoast pretenders remain.
The fact that you bought a game that you didn't like doesn't give you the right to be cruel.
Sorry, Mark, your access just got revoked. Go find a chair that doesn't have a price tag on it. If you got burned by this game, I'm sorry, friend. But tell me, how do we go from this of this.
It's not just about power. Solus has messed up Algernon's plans before. Nothing's bigger than dragons. But they're clever enough to take flight once they smell danger. Algernon smelled danger.
Whatever the reason, we made it through. And this time, no dragon escaped.
Thanks to Tosh.
That's why we recruited her.
Actually, Tosh uses them for themselves now.
They asked us to let folks know, so now you do.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
Thank you for telling me. That's why we recruited them.
I'll tell you, folks. Brain drain. And frankly, millennials. Millennials and middle-aged Karens and male feminists who are on the downhill slide after a comfortable life and desperate to rack up as many virtue points as possible before they fade and flicker out.
Quack, could we think about...
And the extent of their talent? If you slap some marble humor in it and say, look how quirky and colorful our game is, nobody will notice the one-note message, a complete lack of soul. And the outcome of a generation of degenerates with less personality than my boy here.
Quack, we really should consider them.
And a corrupt system funding and enabling practices that I always thought were illegal. A system that doesn't bat an eye at scum like this. Ah, but it's okay to be racist against white people, eh, Matt? And what's with the fascination of these industry types, making sure you know who they why, and how?
Oh dear. It looks like we're losing the feed. Are the sirens wailing? Is the sky looking a little too neon? Don't let the end of the world ruin the most important meal of your day. Introducing Bunker Bites. The only cereal made with 100% shelf-stable fortified dust. And our patented lead-lined crunch. It's crunchier than a Geiger counter in a hot zone.
Gee, mister, it tastes like bleach.
That's the taste of survival, son. Bunker Bites. Because if you're going to face a wasteland, you may as well do it on a full stomach. Available at all participating fallout shelters.
What the hell was that, Suitcase? Did you just...
Quack, you know the horde of zombies we could be attracting to our doorstep. I had no choice.
You think I'm afraid of some brainless puppet? And how are they gonna get us way up here anyway?
It looks like we're back.
Oh, where were we? Ah, now let's tune the dial to my favorite group of bottom feeders, the Access Media. These shameless house pets are out here playing dress-up, acting like the stories they're writing are real journalism. But the page's starting to run. Everyone sees right through it. Just look at Bungie. They asked their favorite lap dogs to hold reviews until the end of March, a full month of radio silence. And wouldn't you know, they sat and stayed right on command.
Transparency in that sector hasn't been this low since the Great Crash. My archive suggests that silence is rarely the sound of a masterpiece in progress.
That silence is a sinking ship, pal. And in a quiet room, even a whisper sounds like a gunshot. There's a whole lot of voices out there filling that dead air with truth. They want radio silence? Fine. We'll just make sure the echo is loud enough to shake their foundation.
Aim my way, I'll be a target. Just as long as you're not in the market of counterfeit love. Don't bring me counterfeit love. Unattached, uninvolved. Here's a deal, split the love, make a run for it. Take the chance, don't look back, don't agree with it, then counterfeit love has got a hold.
They don't care about your time or your wallet. This filth is bought and paid for, friends. They care about keeping their seats at the ivory tower table. Start digging into who owns these publications and the signal becomes clear. It's a damn elephant in the room, and I, for one, I'm done pretending I don't smell the circus. But if you ain't towing the company line and you sound off, it can feel like shouting Sauron's name in the middle of his own backyard, drawing the ire of the brainwashed horde.
Excuse
I'll be honest, fellas. I'm tired. Millions of people are waiting on Rockstar to save the day, and I just can't get behind this sentiment. A decade in the oven, 6,000 employees, and a budget that represents the single largest gamble in the history of entertainment.
The logistics are staggering, Quack. 6,000 working under a $3 billion shadow. At that scale, a creative risk isn't a choice. It's a statistical liability. The numbers don't allow for soul anymore.
That's the trap, Suitcase. They're so far buried in their spreadsheets, they've forgotten how to conjure the magic. You can't calculate soul. And when the math takes over, the dreamers head for the exit. It's no wonder Dan Houser left. And this guy could easily replace 1,000 soulless drones. Or more. But these corporate bulls are out here chasing signals for people who don't even have skin in the game. These people never bought a disc in their lives, don't play games, and never plan to spend a dime. They're only in it for the digital pats on the back. Problem is, these types are making the games now, too. Talentless rats replacing the cool cats. Dig? Garbage in, garbage out. Yeah, the gears are still grinding, but the soul was sold off long ago. History doesn't lie, folks. And Rockstar's attempt to scrub the grease off their frat house image, well, in the old wild man's eye, the ship of Theseus is on a one-way course straight for oblivion. Look, we all know GTA 6 is gonna move units. It's gonna sound like clean water in a drought. I'm not that far gone. But you gotta ask yourself, when the dust settles, what was the real cost? I got enough grit in my gears to fuel a fleet of tanks. I know I sound like a duck who's lost his last reason to smile. But at the end of the day, all I want is a game that actually works and a story that holds up when the world doesn't. A tale that can stand on its own 2 feet without leaning on a checklist. Something that doesn't feel like a lecture on current year dynamics. But I'm not here to tell you how to spend your coin, or what to enjoy. Life's short. If a game actually manages to put a spark in your battery and make you feel alive again, well, don't let some loudmouth on the airwaves shame you for finding a win in this mess.